afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Philly Zoo at 2. We are here inside the Rare Animal Conservation Center, and we are with some really cool animals behind us called naked mole rats, and their keeper is just over here to tell us a little bit more about them. So, naked mole rats are probably, believe it or not, one of the most popular animals at the zoo because they are just so unbelievably weird. And you've been working with them for how long now?
Just about 10 years.
10 years. So you've known a lot of mole rats.
I do.
But probably not as many as people think, because let's start off right on the weird foot with these guys. They are a rodent.
They are.
But, and as we know, a lot of rodents, rats, mice, they live 2 to 3 years, but not mole rats.
No.
What's their life expectancy again?
So this colony right here is probably over 40 years old.
That's insane. And an individual mole rat, despite the fact that it's a rodent, can live to be over 30 years old, which is absolutely nuts. Like, it's so weird that scientists study them to find out how they can live so long. Another thing that I love about naked mole rats, we're just going to jump right into the weird stuff and then we'll tell you about them. They cannot get cancer.
They can't.
Which is another, and that's the other thing, is that the reason these things are weird is because rats and mice, they hit 2 years old and they get cancer and they pass away.
Yeah.
Like it happens like clockwork.
Yes.
Naked mole rats live to be 30 years old and never get cancer, and humans have been studying them for decades now because we just do not understand it. And there's so much cool stuff happening with these guys. They're just amazing creatures.
And their pain receptors are like super high. Like they can hardly feel pain at all.
What? Which means that they can like withstand attacks and like really high heat and all that. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. These little guys are like little tanks, just tiny ones. Okay, now that we've gotten some of the weirdest stuff out of the way, we got plenty more weird stuff to come. So tell us a little bit about, you mentioned that they are a colony. Tell us a little bit about what it's like to care for mole rats, because they're a pretty unique rodent.
They are. So we have 2 different colonies. This is what people see when they come to the zoo, called the On exhibit. And there are 17 of them. And they're built like a bee colony. So they have workers, they have queens. It's a little different in the zoo. They don't act exactly like they should in the wild, but we do have a queen on exhibit right now that's pregnant, which we haven't had in years. So
that's cool.
We're excited about that.
And do you know how many babies they usually have at once?
They actually can have a lot. Depends. This is her first time, so she would be considered a first-time mom. So anywhere from 6 to 20.
20? What are they, the size of a jelly bean?
Yeah.
That's insane. They're not that big.
We've had quite a large litters at certain times.
20 babies. That's like
that's
40% of her body. That's
it's a ton.
Oh.
Yeah, so...
I just like touched my stomach. How
did I fit 20
No, 20. That's crazy.
Yeah, some speculate that they have so many because when they live in the wild, it's a huge group and other mothers would come and help raise them.
That makes sense.
Not so much here at the zoo. She's on her own. But
yeah, because they're really like a community-based species. It's really cool. I'm not gonna lie. When you just said like they think that they have so many babies in the wild, my brain immediately went to because like more than half of them are probably gonna die due to predation or some other problem. But then you went and said it's because there's plenty of other female mole rats around to help her raise her babies, and I was like, that is not what I expected at all.
It's a little bit of both.
It's a little bit of both, of course. Yeah, there's always way more threats in the wild than there are here at Philadelphia Zoo.
Yeah, we do lose, if she has up to 20, we definitely do lose some.
Of course.
Because it's just
her
taking care of them. But yeah, they definitely are very interesting. We feed them a variety of things, but one of them is, it's called rodent block, and it helps to keep their teeth
Oh, do they have teeth that grow constantly? Like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, look at this guy. What's he doing? Is that the bathroom?
Yes, this is the bathroom.
Okay, I just saw some bathroom behavior, and I thought.
Yes.
So I asked, is that the bathroom? And our viewers at home might think that I was being funny about that, but I wasn't. They actually have dedicated rooms in here for certain stuff. So can you give us a little tour of our house of mole rats? What have we got?
Our mansion here is
this is MTV Cribs for mole rats.
The bottom left is where they go to the bathroom, where the pine shavings are, and they do move it occasionally depending on the group, but for the most part, they only go in that box to go to the bathroom, so that's nice. You're not cleaning.
That's awesome. Yeah.
20 boxes. It's just the one. And then the middle one is I call it their den box, where all their...
That's where they're all kind of squiggling around right now.
Right. So that's where they sleep. They do bring food.
They will go and get their food and bring it to their little, oh my gosh.
They drag it through tubes
That's amazing.
And the wild, what they're supposed to do is, again, if there's a mom that just had babies, is bring her food.
Yes.
So she doesn't,
of course.
So that doesn't always happen here, but we change it periodically, different substrates to give them. They love enrichment, which is very fun for keepers.
That's awesome.
They're super, they move a lot. They don't sit still too much.
No, there's rats like running all over here, but they're so fast it's hard for us to keep up with them.
Yeah, they're interesting because they go backwards as fast as they go forwards.
That's incredible.
That's fun. And then the last box we have, it's the right over here where we feed them their food.
So you put their food like in the little kitchen area,
Yes.
and then they take it to wherever they want to hang out and eat.
Yeah, so they do eat some dining in the kitchen.
Okay, all right.
And then some eat in bed.
Of course.
As well. So.
They're not that different from us.
Yeah, they mainly eat like tubular foods, we call them. So anything that grows in the ground, because they live underground.
Oh, yep.
So carrots.
Yep.
Potatoes.
Yep. Corn.
Yep.
Which actually I saw some in the back. And now this is something that everybody has seen. Mm-hmm. But what we're actually going to do now is take everybody kind of behind the scenes and show you what goes on the other side. Because we have 2 colonies of mole rats, right? Can you explain the PG version of why we have 2?
Yes.
Maybe the G version.
Yeah. So because we have difficulty breeding on exhibit, we wanted to start a colony for breeding. So it's quieter back there. Mm-hmm. We have more control of the environment. So it's sort of like an off-exhibit breeding colony. And we've had tons of success.
Awesome.
So
let's go check them out.
That's mainly one.
And one thing I noticed when I came back here, I've been back here, but it's been a few years. It's much more spacious than I remember.
Is it?
Yeah. This is way, like I thought that it was, only like 3 feet wide. It's not. It's much bigger. So we actually have room to move around in here, which is cool.
A little bit.
So this is our off-exhibit colony. So why don't you get up there so you can see them, and you can see some of their food in there. You can get a nice up-close view of them. So tell us about these guys. You said we had 17 in the front colony. What's up with them?
So the off exhibit, we call it, has 26, and 6 are babies. Well, they're probably teenagers by now. They're about 6 months old. So every time they have we call a litter, we actually separate the mom from the group of them. So she is in her own little nursery taking care of them. And then after about 30 days, we let them into the group. And so far it's been pretty successful with the off-exhibit group.
That's awesome.
So,
is there like a significant size difference? Like I think I just saw a baby up there. It looks like the babies might only be about 2 inches long, and the adults can get up to what, 4 or 5 inches?
Correct. Yeah, they're. I think that might be no.
I think there's one up there.
I'm trying to say baby running through, but yeah, they're definitely born like a mouse pinky, super tiny.
Yep.
And then. Yeah, so you can definitely tell the difference. Once they're a year old, you probably won't be able to tell the difference.
Okay, that was my next question, is how long until they're full-sized?
Yeah, so they love to chew.
Yes, they do.
It's
and that's for those of you at home who are thinking like, well, why didn't you just put them in something that looks like a hamster cage? You can't. They'll chew through almost anything. So these things are made out of like lucite or something. It's very, very, very tough plastic, very, very thick. Mm-hmm. And then obviously we put plenty of room in there for them to move around and breathe and do all the things they need to do. Now this species typically would live underground, which is pretty interesting. But that's why they're like, you might look at this and think, oh, don't they need more space? No, they do not. They like little tiny holes and little tiny tubes to crawl through.
And the same thing with the off exhibit. They have a bathroom box,
cool.
and same thing. So
that's amazing.
Even though they're in a different setup,
so they have plenty of everything that they need.
Yes.
Now, one thing that we had talked about outside that I wanted to bring up is that they have, because they have so many rules around their kind of, naked mole rat society, there are like different behaviors that you might observe mole rats doing that will tell you which mole rat is actually dominant over the other. And one of them is when they're walking through the tubes, like they'll go one over top of the other. Mm-hmm. And which one is the dominant one?
The one that goes over.
So if you're lower in rank as a mole rat, and you come across another mole rat in a tube, you have to kind of just crouch, and then the head honcho will just kind of scoot over top of you.
Yeah, the dominant animal gets first choice, which is always to
It's
go over.
first choice, which is always going to be to go over.
Yes, you step on them to go over. So
that's amazing.
They're pretty flexible.
They are really flexible creatures, right? They because they almost look stiff when they walk, but it's actually the opposite. They have so much ability to move, and we even just saw one scoot backwards up the tube there. That was fun. They're like a surprisingly nimble creature.
They are, and they're blind, so
they're fully blind.
Yeah.
Full blown blind.
Yeah.
Wow.
They have eye sockets. I mean, it looks like they have eyes.
Yeah, they have
looks
eyes or something. Maybe,
yeah. So they're very scent oriented. Well, like when we make their food, it has to be separate containers. We use separate gloves for the separate colonies.
Yeah. Because if they were to be able to smell one another, they would different colonies of mole rats can actually be competitive with one another, right? They're territorial.
Definitely.
Wow.
Yeah, we've had some injuries. We do treat them, and they recover quite a bit very well.
I mean, as we mentioned, they're like little superheroes.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So you know, their arguments can be kind of tough sometimes, but they recover very well.
That's amazing.
They just like any family, they do get into arguments.
Of course.
Oh, there's a baby.
And that's a good question. Is how many in a colony? How many mole rats are related? Like, how does a colony form? Like, when a baby mole rat is born, do they inevitably go off and just join another colony? Like, how does that work?
That would be my guess. Yeah, they wouldn't stay underground. It's so huge.
Yeah.
They would go off to another colony for sure. But here, the queen.
Yeah, we manage the population for them, so that makes sense on our end.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Now, you mentioned that they like enrichment. What types, we talk a lot about enrichment on Zoo It too, so what types of enrichment are their favorite? Do they like food, or you said they have a great sense of smell? Do you ever give them like fun perfumes or something? Like, what do they like?
It's funny because they do have they're very scent oriented, but it's almost the opposite. Too much scent is overwhelming for them, so we actually do no scents for them, but because they like to chew, anything that they can get their jaws on, hard cardboard tubes, like branches, anything that they can love to chew, and they're quite good at it. So
it's very similar to like how we would do enrichment for a rabbit.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, we've got to be getting some questions from the viewers. What can we answer?
What do you call a group of naked mole rats?
We call it colony.
Colony.
Yeah.
And how much do they weigh?
We have a tiny scale for them, and they're about 5 grams.
Wow.
A full-grown one.
A full-grown one,
yeah.
And do they ever like go out in the sun, leave the underground?
Not likely because of so many predators.
And they can't see.
Yeah.
You know, so
that's why they don't need to see. Right?
I know that I've read that there are individual mole rats that will live their entire life underground, no sunshine, and that's just the way that they are. You know.
How deep in the ground do they live?
That was a good question. I don't exactly know.
I don't know either, because I know that the colonies, when you allow them to expand as much as they want to, I mean, they can be the size of a football field. They're huge. But they don't even use all that space. They just dig tunnels and holes and forget about them and move on.
Deep enough so like a snake can't get them.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. And they do live where it's pretty hot, so they'll want to stay low enough down that it is temperature controlled. But maybe we'll look that up and put that in the Q&A afterwards.
And it's very hot in here.
It is actually. It is. It was really nice out in the front of the house, and then we got back here and I was like, oh, air conditioning off.
In the winter it's nice because we keep it at a steady high 80, 90.
It feels like we're outside.
Yes.
Yes.
Do they eat anything besides roots and vegetables? Do they eat bugs?
No, we only feed them tubular, and they don't have water bowl, so the corn on the cob is their water source.
I mean, that makes sense. They're basically they're like a Saharan species, so yeah, that makes sense.
It would get very dirty, the water bowl.
Yes, it would. Yes, it would. And they don't even need it.
No.
They're amazing little creatures. I love these guys.
So So if they can't see, what is their best sense?
Smell for sure.
Can they hear at
They
all?
can
They
hear.
can hear. Okay.
Yeah, when I lift the tops off, they immediately
Oh, really?
their heads go up because they feel the.
Yeah, that makes sense.
the
Actually, yeah, they look hairless. They are a mammal. Do they have like little tiny hairs all over their bodies, or do they have like, really none? Wow,
they're
that's
completely
amazing.
naked.
I was just
for
wondering
sure.
if do they have whiskers?
They do.
They do. Okay, so
Yeah.
that would be about it.
Yeah.
Like a dolphin, but
Yeah.
underground.
Feel around. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're strange. And honestly, we haven't even covered everything that's weird about these guys. You can get really deep in the naked mole rat research and just keep learning stuff about them, and they just keep going. They're so weird. But that is unfortunately all the time we have today to share naked mole rat information with you. We will of course go back and answer your top 5 questions, put them in the back. So check back tomorrow for if we didn't answer your question, it might be in there. Just a reminder that you can continue voting for the Gorilla Treeway for the Best New Zoo exhibit. There's a link in the description to this video, and that voting continues until July 6th. So thanks so much for joining us today. We'll see you real soon, and we'll be back tomorrow with a brand new animal guest on Philly Zoo at 2. Bye.